Over the years, I've read so many books on productivity and procrastination because I was someone that really struggled with these things up until recently. And so in this video, I want to share with you some of the more practical tips and advice that I got from reading all these books that have the potential, I think, to really change your life if you're someone that struggles with procrastination. So let's dive into it. Whether we like it or not, our environment plays a massive role in our behavior. Whether that's things or people that we surround ourselves with, if you're surrounded by tons of distractions, it can be extremely difficult to not procrastinate, let alone focus. And I think one of the best ways to do this is to create a separate space where distractions are an exception rather than the rule. So the best way to do this, obviously, is by having a separate office. But many of us don't have the possibility to do that. So in that case, you can use either a second device, or what's even more convenient, and I think most of us are able to do, is create a second user account, one without all the distractions of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Steam, or Discord, or whatever distracts you most of the time. And if you're always working in your student room, for example, in the same space that you're playing games and hanging out with friends, etc., it can also be really helpful to change your environment. So instead, maybe go to a coffee shop, put on some noise cancelling headphones, or go to the library where you don't associate that spot with just distracting things or procrastinating, but instead have a separate space where you're just going to do focused work. And if you think this isn't a big deal, well, trust me, if you constantly get notifications from your friends asking to hang out or play games, then eventually you'll cave. It just takes way too much willpower to constantly say no, so it's best to just avoid it altogether. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? I think we all have these days where we're not as productive as we'd like to be. And I think that's completely fine and completely normal. We shouldn't be too hard on ourselves if that happens once in a while. But being consistent is probably one of the best predictors of having a positive outcome. If we get 1% better at something every single day, on average, sometimes it might be 3% better and sometimes it might be 0.5, but if we're at it every single day, this compounding effect really makes a big difference. To create a habit, what we need to do is just do the same thing as much as possible. And since procrastination is a habit, the best way to get rid of a bad habit is replace it with a positive one. If you just get up and get going every single day and not let one unproductive afternoon turn into a whole week of procrastination and regret, you'll be able to achieve great things. One small thing that had a big impact for me personally was leaving things at a point where it's easy to get the ball rolling again. So when I stop for the day, I stop at a part that I find relatively easy so that it's easier for future me to get the ball rolling again and get back into it. Because once you have that momentum, it's much easier to keep going and go on and do more difficult things. Improving old habits just takes time, and progress is usually not linear, despite what it might seem like. And that leads us to dealing with setbacks, because how you deal with setbacks makes a huge difference. Like I said before, if you let one bad afternoon ruin the rest of your week, it's very difficult to be consistent. If you're hard on yourself for making mistakes and it's hard for you to get back on track, it's very easy to fall into a downward spiral of decreased motivation and increased procrastination. It's really easy to be critical of the things we are doing. And I honestly think that actively working on cultivating a growth mindset is one of the best things that I've done for improving my consistency and my productivity overall. Because for me, it has been one of the best things that I've done and that I'm continuously working on in order to become the best version of myself. I've I've realized that a lot of the times when we procrastinate, it is because we're afraid to fail or afraid of how it might make us feel if we don't get the outcome we desire. I made an entire video on the growth mindset, but in short, if you cultivate a growth mindset, you'll be happy to make mistakes despite knowing that you might fail and that it's fine if you do. Having said all of that, I think it's important to make the distinction between delay and procrastination, because delaying something and being patient can be a good thing, while procrastination is never a good thing. And if we feel like we're procrastinating while we're actually being patient, then we might still feel stressed or anxious for no good reason. There are times when we need to be patient, and there's also other times when we're not being productive, which is fine too. We can't always be productive. Time we enjoy wasting isn't actually wasted, right? We need to sometimes take some time off to relax and regain our energy. So those things are not procrastination. Procrastination only happens when we're voluntarily delaying something that we know we should be doing. So please don't feel stressed or anxious when you're just relaxing instead of procrastinating. You also deserve some rest, right? Taking a much needed break from time to time is certainly not a bad thing. But don't waste your time on things that don't make you feel happy or fulfilled. Things that you think might make you feel less uncomfortable for a moment, but don't move you closer to where you want to be in life.